CBS Sports is adding Liga MX in English. Sacramento's stadium finally breaking ground, and we talked to Midwest Premier League Commissioner Duncan Riddle. That and more on Friday's Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. You've made your way to Morning Kick Around, the show where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favoriteest country. Coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Robert Kerr from the great north of the Mitten, being joined by Mr. Jason Davis. How you feeling this morning, sir?
Are we getting geography? Is that some Michigan stuff? The Mitten? I guess that's what you guys got up there, right? It's a mitten. That's like Italy's a boot, Michigan's a mitten. All right. Let's go with that.
Yeah, the home of the Pit Spitters and neighbors to the Sleeping Bear Dunes. The minor league baseball team up here where I'm at in Traverse City is the Pit Spitters, formerly the Beach Bums.
Okay, that sounds fun. That's great. I know it's a vacation destination. Never been up there myself, but hope you enjoy yourself, Rob. Obviously working under slightly different circumstances, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, enjoying basic Airbnb artwork behind me. There's a Dalmatian and a fan behind me. If in case
a Dalmatian and a fan. Got it. Yeah, Airbnb.
And everything's better at the beach, just out of shot.
At one point, Rob was set up with a background where we had one of those signs that said "Live life, laugh loud, be happy," or drink.
Yeah, that's
wine.
what I'm saying. Everything's better at the beach.
That's what it was. All right, Rob, what are we doing here?
Oh, we got a great show today. Exciting with the stadium news continues. We got a great guest, Midwest Premier League Commissioner Duncan Riddle's on the show. And of course, we're going to delve into the intergenerational squabbling of the United States men's national team. Before we get to that, though, if you're watching this and if you haven't hit subscribe yet, what are you waiting for? Do so now. Become more than the 3,000 folks who have clicked the button and are supporting and joining this town center of the American soccer conversation. If you want to step it up a notch, you can become an MK Ultra, a Morning Kick Around channel member. $3.99 a month gets you access to early videos, priority commenting on the show. Of course, this is a participatory show, so get your comments in there. Your priority commenting with your membership and the Morning Kick Around Discord server. I checked in with that this morning. Lively conversations going on about men's national team, local stuff, USL men's national team, and much more. So the Discord Morning Kick Around server, one of the big perks of becoming a channel member. You can follow along on social media for us at MKickaround, X, Instagram, and the Blue Sky, or write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. Or if you want to support us outside of that bubble, coffee.com/morningkickaround. You can help us out on some specific fundraising goals. Thank you to everyone who has supported us thus far, and thank you to everyone who is considering doing so far, or just tuning in. I think we're about ready for some segments. You ready, Mr. Davis?
Let's go. Let's kick them.
All right, let's start it. Long balls here on Fridays. Morning Kick Around. Starting the show off with long balls here on Morning Kick Around. This is the part of the show where we get to the headlines. Leading off, fresh in the inbox is CBS Sports to broadcast at least 40 regular season Liga MX games in English in the 2025-26 schedule, airing on CBS Sports Network and CBS Sports Golazo Network. Big addition, lots of soccer games coming to CBS now, eh?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I recall ESPN doing Liga MX games in English. Man, that must have been a decade ago at this point, Rob. I remember checking in on that a little bit. This is pre-learning Espanol for me. So I would have been, here's Mexican soccer and it's happening in English and that's more accessible for me. I don't remember ESPN coming out of that thinking it worked. I mean, they obviously didn't continue it. They didn't stick with it. Maybe that's also tied to some changes in the leadership at ESPN because Soccer is one of those sports on a network like ESPN where it kind of depends on who's in charge and whether they think the sport has big potential or not, and changes at the leadership level can affect this. Obviously, CBS Sports has just been eating up rights and doing all kinds of things. I mean, this has been a big period of spending. I believe there's that merger going through, a new owner, so there's possibilities that this is all tied into just exploding their portfolio. The names involved in terms of the broadcasting, according to the press release, Nico Cantor, who you obviously see a lot on Golazo and CBS Sports, Adrian Garcia Marquez, and Chris Whittingham, who is pretty much everywhere these days, doing MLS, he's done Champions League for CBS. He is often paired, with Ray Hudson to do games over there. I think this could be another demographic that opens up to Mexican soccer. And I also think there's probably a lot of people that are, want to engage with Mexican football, feel like the language barrier is too much, the cultural barriers that exist there. But it could also be very much like Italian soccer, La Liga, Bundesliga kind of thing too, where because you're not engaging with it, if you only speak English, of course, because you're not engaging with it with the language, the lingua franca of the league, you may feel a remove. So I don't know how this goes. You were asking before the show, maybe what does this mean for MLS? So what does this mean for American soccer that's happening here? At this point, I don't know that there's a fundamental change that could happen from this. I think we're just kind of in this place where MLS has its own fights to own battles to engage in on getting people to pay attention to them. And I'm not sure that this will chip away too much at their market share because they still have so much work to do anyway.
I'm curious I like that there's an offering of it. I mean, more soccer available on television I enjoy, but from a business perspective, I'm curious how many people are speaking English but are curious in that. You feel like with Univision and all the different Spanish-speaking networks that cover the league pretty extensively already,
right.
How many folks are going to tune away from that to engage with the English version? I know there's split households where, some folks speak multiple languages. I don't know if that assists that. In your household, would that interest you in any way?
I mean, so I don't know, not to make it too much about me, but there's no Mexican football fans in my house except me. If you want to call me someone, a nominal Mexican football fan, and obviously that's partly because it's my job to cover soccer, and Mexican football has value in that. My kid, my 4-year-old, he speaks Spanish as his primary language, but also understands English. I have a 17-year-old who could care less about soccer, and I have a wife who's kind of in the same boat. So I don't know, for me, I would probably default to the Spanish anyway to benefit me as a Spanish learner. But you're right. There are lots of households. I mean, one thing that I see a lot in my area is families where the older generation is speaking Spanish and the younger generation is responding in English. And there's clearly an understanding happening there, but there's not a speaking happening there. So I don't know how that would kind of play in families where a bilingual element is part of the story. If you are, let's say your family came from Mexico and your grandfather was a Club America fan, and maybe your mom or your dad follows Club America and they speak Spanish, but you struggle with the Spanish as a first or second generation Mexican American, maybe this is a way for you to connect with those elements of your family history. Like, oh, I can watch games now in English, understands what's happening without having to do the language barrier. So yeah, I mean, this Crispy Do, one of our MK Ultras, I feel like this is a play for people of Mexican descent that don't speak Spanish so much. I think it's probably beyond that. It's more broader, it's broader than that as a play. And I don't know how much this is costing Paramount. Probably it's nominal compared to the Champions League rights or whatever. And it is a license deal with Televisa Univision. So they could be trying this out, right? It's happening pretty quickly, right? This is being announced today, and their first game is tomorrow, Toluca and Pumas on CBS Sports Network. I mean,
that's a quick turnaround.
Was it in the works and they just finally got it across the line? Did somebody at Paramount go, you know what we should do? Oh, I got a great idea. We got some guys that are bilingual. Why don't we do Mexican football and add that to our portfolio again as they sort of expand So, I mean, what does Paramount have at this point, Rob? Like, it's a long list of stuff. They've got championship games, I think. They've got EFL Cup. They've got all this stuff.
Yeah, they've definitely scooped up a whole lot of properties. And I was wondering if this has any connection. We were talking about documentaries. There's a new one about Necaxa. I wonder if there's any tie in there. And then the whole Paramount merger thing, maybe once some sort of part of that deal with that merger went over the line, and then they were able to solidify this.
Yeah.
With it starting literally this weekend, that makes me to believe that it was contingent on the merger.
Could be that. I will point out that, and this is my basic understanding of Mexican football television rights. And by the way, I also bring this in, KP. The issue for me is that Liga MX is the time the games are on. Many of them are on so late I can't watch. You look at the schedule, it is 9 p.m., 11 p.m., 9 p.m. This is Eastern time. 9 p.m., 11 p.m., 8 p.m. for a game in November. Also, again, for television rights, my understanding is that clubs are split again between different television outlets, different media companies in Mexico. So there's no Necaxa games on the schedule, probably because Necaxa or the games Necaxa plays in fall under a different company's rights and not Televisa Univision. So you're going to get a ton of Club America. You're going to get a bunch of Cruz Azul. You're going to get some Chivas. You're going to get some Monterrey. You're going to get some Pumas. But there's a lot of clubs that aren't here. It's a lot of repeats because of that, which I think is this is kind of specific to a subset of Mexican football fans if you already have a club.
Yeah, that's pretty fractured. If you just think about the fact that like the not every team can be on the same channel is kind of wild in its own right. But I was also thinking about just as far as viewing habits and like how would that affect MLS and whatnot. So I've said before in the show that most of the MLS that I watched was the random late night games. The kids have gone to bed and I get to watch that 10, 11 o'clock kickoff where maybe this, and then I haven't been able to do that obviously since the Apple deal with the new kickoff times for the most part. So maybe folks like myself might start to veer into this Liga MX with it being available at those times of the night. Moving along now, though, unless you have any more thoughts on that, Jason.
I'm good to go.
All right. So moving on to long ball number 2 here on Friday, Sacramento Republic Stadium finally having a groundbreaking set to go on Monday for the $175 million project. They're going to break ground in an event on Monday per local news KCRA Channel 3. The site's supposed to be 12,000 seats on 31 acres in the eastern portion of the downtown Railyards. Not smooth sailing, though, as there is a bit of a city tax district issue, but they are pushing along with the groundbreaking ceremony regardless on Monday morning.
Yeah, in terms of local politics, I mean, obviously, if there's a tax district that's supposed to help fund the infrastructure around the stadium, there's protests and pushback. People want affordable housing. We're going to leave that to the side. That is not something that Rob and I can dive into and have any real insight on local Sacramento politics. Here is the rendering of the 12,000 seat venue that they want to build. It does say that they can expand to 15 for certain events. Of course, 15 sounds like a magic number because we've been talking about USL League One and the professional league standards. And obviously Sacramento would be it was on our list, right? If you go back and watch the video of clubs we picked to be USL's first division group, at least the first 12, Sacramento was in there because of their long-term success, because they've been there. They've got roots in the ground. They've established their fan base. There's all those things. This is a big deal. Again, without kind of knowing whether this can be upended again, because that's the story of Sacramento, right? It's every time they take a step forward on the stadium or finding a billionaire to back their MLS project, something has upended those plans and left them kind of treading water. I don't not as a club like they're going anywhere, but just in terms of like how they move forward. They've been stuck a couple times. So if this is progress, then I'm very excited. I'm wearing my Sacramento Republic, one of them. I have 2 jersey today. Of course, Sacramento is where I was born, not where I was raised, but where I was born. This is a shot of Heart Health Park. So this is their current venue, right? And I know that they've had big crowds and they've established themselves. And, the story of Sacramento Republic in terms of stadium stuff is kind of wild. And we definitely don't have time in a couple of minutes to tell the whole story. So I encourage people to read about this. This of course comes after the majority ownership of the club was purchased by this Native American tribe, Wilton Rancheria. Monday is a auspicious date in the history of that tribe, because there was a law passed in 1958 that took federal services away from tribes. So they're marking a moment, not a great moment, but they're marking a moment in their history and saying, look at where we are now. We're owners of Sacramento Republic. Here we are breaking ground on a new stadium. Maybe this is like, maybe not. I was going to say, maybe this is like that theory that you kind of, you do the thing and then you don't ask permission, you do it, and then you ask for forgiveness later. I don't know. I mean, again, whether or not the tax district and all that stuff is going to be an issue for them, Rob. But if this is getting closer to a stadium, a proper home for Sacramento, then we can celebrate that.
You'd hope that everything's going to work out all right, or at least the club and the ownership there is moving forward with the groundbreaking on Monday, despite the protests and the little bit of a pause in the moving forward, because labor and housing advocates are calling for a revised deal that would put developers on the hook for more affordable housing in the area. So, I mean, that's one of those things where, is that a major roadblock that, is put in front of this group that is really going to, for lack of a better term, railroad this deal? Or is that just something that a good conversation and some agreements and it can just pass by, and they're pushing forward with the Monday morning groundbreaking? So you think they wouldn't want to get out of their skis too much if it was too much of a deal?
There's a hospital, I believe, that's already under construction. That's part of this general project. I want to address this from Soccer Night in Detroit. Huge difference between Detroit and Sacramento. Detroit's new stadium would be privately funded. Sacramento sounds like it will not. Again, without knowing every single detail, and you can read, but the reporting from the Sacramento Bee is that the stadium will cost $175 million and be privately funded by the team's new ownership group. Now, it's never as simple as that, Rob. And I'm not going to say that I not taking what the Sacramento Bee has at face value, but sometimes it's like, this is privately funded. Oh, but there's $50 million of city money or county money or whatever to do X thing related to the stadium, right? Because you can build the stadium, but you also need the roads to do the to do the traffic flow, and you have to put in all of the services, and then maybe you have to reroute services because of what the stadium is doing, and all those things are part of the construction process beyond just having a soccer field with the seats surrounding it, if you know what I'm saying. So again, it says that the stadium will cost $175 million. It'll be privately funded by the team's new ownership group, while the expanded infrastructure financing district would have reimbursed infrastructure costs to developers through future property tax revenues. That's the thing. Like, the developers will do the work and then they get paid back by this tax district, the financing district. But that's the thing that is now in question right now. It stalled through a vote last month, that financing district. So there's some stuff there. And it says through a complicated law, there's some things going on with that. But Todd Donovan, president of the club, we have to move forward. We're going to move forward. We know this is going to be great for the Railyards, for the residents, to have more development there. This is a win for Sacramento.
This makes me think maybe a future video, top places for difficulty to build a soccer stadium. Which cities have faced the biggest obstacles of getting something done? I mean, we had a story about Boston, of the wild politics getting involved with trying to build a stadium there. Obviously, New York has taken a very, very long time for anything to happen there. And in Sacramento, one thing to the next, but hopefully that story kind of rounds out and they find success with their stadium. But maybe top 3 hardest places to build a stadium in America might be something that we look into moving ahead.